Hello again, it's Tom Sheppard. I'm at the Wescott Preserve today. Wescott was named for Lloyd Wescott. He was an early pioneer in radio as well as a key person around the county. If you know of the hospital, Wescott Drive was also named for him. He actually donated the first 70-80 acres here at this preserve 5 years before the county parks even existed. So he's basically the godfather of the county parks. Wescott is a mixture of open space and woods. There's actually even a little valley to it where the Lockatong Creek runs through, and I will take a shot from there as well. But we're going to walk the little loop off of Raven Rock Road today and see what we can find to talk about for all of you. This is actually scat on the trail. It's most likely fox. If you notice, it's got a tapered tip, points to its remains. They're created by the hair follicles of the prey animals that the animal digested, since the hair itself is undigestible. So when it comes out the other side, it makes these tapered tips to it. Again, given the area, my first suspicion is that this is red fox. Out in Delaware Township, though, you can't fully rule out coyote, but given the actual size and length of this one, I would again say it's red fox. We have some shelf fungus coming out of the tree here. I don't know the actual type anymore, given its age and all. But again, like all fungus, it's not actually a plant. What you're actually seeing is probably maybe no more than 10% of the actual structure. The other 90% being a root system, actually going up and down inside the tree. Again, fungus is a decomposer, so their job is actually to take dead mass and turn it back into soil. When a tree falls in the woods, often will pull up its root system. These things I refer to as wind throws. I've heard them also called pit-and rims. But these do create opportunity for the environment. Sometimes water fills the void left by the roots when they're pulled up. Amphibians and insects can take advantage of that sitting water without predation. In time, the tree and the roots erode. The soil falls down and joins the ground. But all this fresh soil then creates opportunity for new vegetation growth, to have new vegetation establish to replace the fallen tree, and eventually in time regrow up, or I should say grow and fill the void left by the tree. So it's a place of virgin soil where fresh regeneration of the forest takes place. Just wanted to share the shot with you. This is the Lockatong Creek running through the little valley here. It's one of the creeks that come off of the Hunterdon Plateau heading for the Delaware. But again, I'm just sharing a scenic spot. Between the trail and the creek, most of the evergreens are actually eastern hemlock. These are trees under stress from insects, the woolly adelgid, the elongated scale, but we do have an active stable stand here, and what I'm actually looking for is just to see if there is any damage, and these actually seem to be pretty clean right now. While we never really had adelgid, there are occasionally these black dots underneath the leaves, and that's the elongated scale. Also, if you tip up the leaves, you might notice some whitish. There's one on up towards the top of the one frond. You might see this little dot on the green leaf. That's an elongated scale. But again, this is one of the locations where the trees are remaining stable and are a joy to actually see. Made my way down towards the creek and in amongst the stones. Before me is the jawbone of a deer. This jawbone looks to be like from a young fawn. If you look at the teeth structure, you'll notice, there we go, there's only about 4 teeth on the jaw, with the 5th tooth just growing in. So this is actually a young fawn, maybe about 3 months old, unfortunately, in regards to its age when it passed. If this is of interest to you, we actually have a program on our website where you can actually do some skull and identification, and one of the questions actually does bring up the jaw and aging the deer by the number of teeth. Okay, I'm down by the creek, looking over the rock bed and all. If I remember correctly, a lot of these pinkish stones that you might catch in the stones, I believe they're the argillite. One of the things about argillite in the Lockatong is it was a place where Native Americans came and they would collect the argillite because it's one of the stones that they could manipulate into arrowheads and other tools. Here again, I'm looking back up towards the bottom edge of the field. You can actually see here, in effect, some of the issues caused by the water running off, creating the troughs, creating the exposed rocks. You can almost see how it's been layered, and how much water's here with the amount of moss on it. But again, just signs of nature altering the landscape on its own, and it effects and evidence of the water erosion coming down off of the fields towards the creek as the area drains. Okay, this is a little hidden structure on the property. If you're a familiar walker here, you probably do know of it. But it's an old spring house. It's been rebuilt once or twice, probably over its years. But initially on the property, up along Raven Rock Road, there's a tan house that was actually one of the first schools in the area. And while there's no proof to this, I've joked that for the kids going to school, one of the morning chores for school was to come all the way down to the creek in this little house to collect water for the day. And of course, it's an uphill walk back to where the school sits along the road. Okay, we've had to do some tree work here in Wescott, but this stump actually shows you one of the key aspects, traits of a tree. What's actually alive on the tree is the outer edge, about a ½ inch through the bark and into the wood where the sapwood is, that we tap on maple trees, if you know that program. But as you can see, the center of this tree was all hollow, because technically all the rings inside the tree are dead mass. So one of the things that does happen is the tree will start to decay. When enough of the mass inside the tree has rotted away, it's one of the elements that do bring down a tree. It also is an area that wildlife use when they can access it to seek shelter in. So it does still serve a purpose for wildlife, but again, older trees do run the risk of being hollow inside and can create safety issues as well as provide the advantage for the wildlife. Many people around Hunterdon probably are familiar with what this is. It's a rub on a tree, not caused by another branch or tree rubbing against it, but our big four-legged brown friend known as the white-tailed deer, the bucks. Every year, as you know, they grow their antlers. The velvet on the outside of the antler needs to eventually be rubbed off to harden the antler, and they do use small saplings to do that damage. It does have a issue on the tree, but as long as it's not completely rubbed all the way around, there is a chance that the tree can recover and continue to grow, because again, as long as there's some part making the connection from the root all the way up to the crown, the tree can use that area to move the sap and all to keep the tree alive. And just to show you, there's actually another one right next to it that's also been rubbed. As you can see, I'm almost back to my car, which is in the distance, but in front of me is one of the bluebird houses on the property. I didn't see much in the way of wildlife today. In regards to physical, there are a few species of bird calling, but this is one of the places you can come to find bluebirds. There's about 4 boxes here along the road. During the season, they'll be sitting in the box, on the box, or usually they're up on the nearby power lines as their perch while here for the season. Again, it's a short little walk, about 3/4 of a mile loop. Took me just about over a half an hour to do this walk today. And again, I encourage you to come and visit the property. This is only about 25% of all of Wescott. There's actually more land on the other side of the creek, and we do have a linear trail that goes from Strimple's Mill Road out to Raven Rock Road on the Hunterdon Land Trust piece called the Zega property. And I will try to give you some images of both of those spots before heading home. Again, this was Wescott, and it's a nice easy walk for people to take. Okay, I'm here at the beginning of the Land Trust property, the Zega Lockatong. This is their parking lot and trailhead. It's where one end of the linear trail I was referring to that goes through the majority of the Wescott Preserve and comes out on Strimple's Mill Road. Again, I'm on Raven Rock Road, just next to the bridge. To give you a landmark, if you do come here and visit, I mean, both trails are open, and they, like I said, they link up in the middle of the preserves. But it's about a 2-mile trail one direction, so you need to make arrangements to either have another car at the other end or plan on walking about 4 miles. Okay, I'm at Strimple's Mill Road now with our parking lot for the Wescott Preserve, just so you can see what the trailhead looks like. Again, this is where you'd come out after about 2 miles from the Zega property. I will point out one little feature. If you do take this walk, go to the end here, make the right to continue the trail. When you re-enter the woodlot, you'll eventually see a berm off to your right. If you go to the top of that berm real quietly, you will find sort of a little hidden pond in the preserve, and you might find a wood duck or something else sitting nearby the water's edge or on the water. I would call this trail a moderate trail. At one point, the trail does have a steep slope. And depending on the water level with how the trail's been routed, you might have some issues getting around the stones. You may have to climb over a stone or two to continue on with the trail. So again, just be prepared for a little bit of a challenge at the base of that slope by the creek. And hope you all stay well. And again, this is all of Wescott, and hope you can get here at some point to explore the trails of the park.